What made you care about this? How'd you get into this whole universe?
I did anesthesia for quite some time, and
you were a real doctor then?
Yeah, I have an MD, and I saw ketamine work pretty well, and because I did anesthesia, right?
Was it fun doing anesthesia?
It was interesting. It was fun, and it was crazy, but it was
Were you listening to music and stuff where you go in there? Nothing like that, huh?
We had a surgeon who would get noise complaints from the other ORs because he would listen to death metal all day, and he would turn it up all the way. And so he sort of had like his own little crew, because you kind of have to be like be in the right mindscape to go in there and listen to Megadeth for 12 hours at 80 dB all day long.
Yeah, that's crazy. You're cracking up in a rib cage and you're all hopped up.
Well, the surgeons next door in the rooms next door would complain. It's like being in a hotel. They'd be like, "Dude, tell them to knock it off." But it was crazy. It was good, but it was like super busy, super high intensity.
Yeah. And you have to stay the whole time, or you just hit them with that dose and you roll out?
It depends.
Okay.
But the way our model was, we had nurse anesthetists, and so we worked together with them, and they would stay the whole time, and I would come in and troubleshoot things and get the ball rolling, and we were at a place where we took care of really sick people, so it was but you sort of acclimate to it, and then you look around and you look at what you acclimated to, and but for me, what got me turned into the corner of this is sort of my understanding of suffering has evolved a lot. And I had a brother, and he died last year. He was injured as a child terribly, and he never could get the help he needed. And so he did a lot of drugs. He tried to take his own life several times.
Oh, man. Sorry to hear that.
He did all these things, and I was sitting there, and he knew he was dying. He was in hospice, but I was, looking at what was coming down the pipeline. I was like, if we can help people who've been traumatized, like, it's sort of like, for me, it's like, if this would have been around 20 years ago, maybe I'd still have a brother. Because he was sexually abused as a kid and did never tell anybody, nobody. Only reason we found out about it is because our pastor was imprisoned after the fact by somebody else.
Dang.
And so I couldn't figure out what was wrong with him his whole life. And I asked him one night, and he goes, "Yep." And I was like, "Fuck." But the damage was just like,
yeah, how much that shapes somebody that's young. That's heartbreaking. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So,
and I'm sorry for him. I'm sorry that, it's heartbreaking to see, I've been, a lot of my family and being in recovery and struggling through those, struggling through trauma and stuff like that, childhood trauma, not like that. But different types of trauma and stuff has been pretty prevalent in my family. And it's heartbreaking to see the effect that it has on people, It
was, the last 6 months of his life, I finally got him to say, because he was a crusty guy.
Was he?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And
were you guys pretty close?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And he knew he was dying.
Was he drinking himself to death?
Yeah, he did. And he had the operations, and he kind of stopped, actually. But the problem was the damage was done, but like, one of the last times we spoke, I was sitting with him in the hospital. He was on hospice, and for the last 6 months of his life, I got him to tell me that I told him I loved him every day, and he was like, "I love you too." And like, just for him to be able to express emotion was priceless.
Yeah.
And then, one of the last moments we spoke, I said, "I love you," and he said, "I love you too." And then he goes, and he flips me the bird, and I was like, "That's Mike."
Yeah.
And so it was like, he knew at least he was loved.
Yeah.
And that was in.
It's important.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people's life, if they struggle with trauma, I think some of it is just, thinking that people don't care, people that
Right.
think it, unable to feel love. It's weird how a traumatic event can block off other things,
Yeah. He couldn't, he didn't have the capacity, and he never So he was stuck, and he could never get out of it. And you kind of wonder or hope that if somebody else comes to me and who's a little younger and hasn't burned themselves physically, like damaged themselves enough, that you can help them turn the corner.
Yeah.
And get healing going in a way that they can get back on the road of life. And that's to me is a very rewarding way to interacting with life. I can look over my shoulder and be like, I am okay with what I'm doing. I'm helping people find peace.
Right. Yeah, man, it's so fascinating how, like, if you don't feel loved, or if something makes you feel so unloved or so damaged, that then it's very hard to feel love after that. Because I think there's just receptors in you that just do not trust it, or just do not trust the world, almost in a weird way. And I don't even think you can access it sometimes. Like that's the such hard thing, is to be able to access why or what or how to change it, to get the clay in your hands. It feels like you just can't find it. It's so like, it's fascinating to hear that there's opportunities, that this could be a way where people can. You believe it?
I believe it. I do. I really do, because I've seen it work.
Wow.
I've seen it work on a lot of people, and it's one of those things where it's like you get to see these people come to you and they're just broken, and the first time you hear them laugh or smile, and you're just like, it's I'm in the right place.
Yeah. That's fascinating, man. Hope you enjoyed that video, and you can watch another, and you can watch this one, you can watch this one. Different options, different choices. Some guy just brings you one option, not this guy. 2 options. Watch one, this one or this one.